This will be a desk tour of all the equipment that I use on a daily basis, as well as stuff that's in my room that speaks a little bit more about my personality as a developer. Essentially, all the things that have gotten me to where I am now as a developer. The first piece of equipment that I really hold dear is my iPad, which I use as a to-do list as well as a notepad before I get started with my day. A single day doesn't go past when I'm not on my iPad planning out ideas or brainstorming. Next is my monitor, which is a Samsung G9 Odyssey. This thing's 49 inches, and usually I jump between this and my iPad throughout the day to make sure that I know what I'm working on and check different things off as I've completed them. Unfortunately, not all development can be done on a Windows machine. Apple likes to lock down app development to Apple devices, so this is why I've got my MacBook Pro 16-inch edition. Here I build things in React Native to build on the iOS architecture. That covers the basics, but let's take a look at some of the things I have behind me on my shelf, because I always get a lot of questions about these things. I've got a number of figurines from my childhood of different shows I used to watch, like for example the one here of Dragon Ball Z with Goku. He's one of my favorite characters because he always has a positive outlook on life, and this is something that I try to emulate myself throughout my own videos and content. I also love reading books. I sometimes get them as audiobooks, and sometimes I actually buy the physical copies because I love them so much. I read a combination of fantasy as well as manga, and one of my favorites is actually a book called Hunter x Hunter, which I've been following for the last 20 years. Unfortunately, it's currently on hiatus, but that doesn't stop me from rereading it from time to time, especially when I'm feeling down and I just want to remember some of those days back when I used to be in high school or university, just having lots of time available to really go through and read and enjoy whatever I did. As I got out of uni, I was really interested in making my own startup or starting my own company, so I bought a lot of business books. Things like Small Business for Dummies or 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. All of these books were books that I started reading to get an idea of how to start up my own company, which I eventually did. But these were the baseline, where it gave me an idea of what I needed to do to really get that started. My favorite type of books though are fantasy books. These have a sense of wonder and magic to them and help me escape reality, and sometimes I just want to do that. Things like Magician, or say Name of the Wind, or even the Bobverse. Then when I get back to programming, I do feel like I'm a little bit of a magician myself. There's no such thing as a good bookshelf without a philosophy book. My favorite is actually Sun Tzu's Art of War. This is a book that I'm sure many have, and one of my favorite statements in there is to win without fighting is best. This one has resonated with me, with my friends, with my work, and with many aspects of programming too. On the other side of my shelf, I've got all my gadgets and equipment. Things like the Elgato Camlink, which is a USB to HDMI converter that allows me to plug my SLR camera straight into the computer. I'm also a bit of a headphone fanatic. I've got headphones from Audio-Technica and Sony. One of my favorites actually is the Bose headphones. I have the newest edition, which got sent to me by Wix. They sent me the Bose 700s, and these are absolutely superb. They've got good noise cancelling, and the sound quality on them is awesome too. So if I'm planning to make a huge website or app, I simply put them on with some lo-fi beats and completely get into the zone. And when I'm in that zone, I can code for hours on end. Of course, this has a drawback of maybe losing track of time, so I try not to spend too long on them, otherwise I might forget to eat and sleep and pretty much everything else. I also have the Apple Airpods, but I don't use these as often, mainly when I'm going out, simply because they're small and compact and easy to fit in my pocket. There are a few devices I have simply because I enjoy owning them. Things like, for example, my drone, which is the DJI Mavic Air S2, I think it is, and this is because I've always been a bit of a drone fanatic. 5 to 10 years ago, when DJI used to be a small company, I used to solder and put together my own drone, calculate my own flight computer, and try and build the whole thing myself. But these days, there's a much easier way to do it, and I love the fact that it's plug and play, simply like an Apple device. So whenever I'm going out and about, I'll usually take it with me because it's small and compact, and I can get some really good shots of Australia that I can later add into my videos. I always seem to spill coffee on my keyboard, so I have a number of Apple Magic keyboards, which is my favorite keyboard right now. But I've gotten quite a few different comments saying that maybe this keyboard isn't the best one for typing, so maybe in future videos I might try out some different ones. When I've got downtime, one of my favorite things to do is relax and play some games. One of my favorite consoles is the Nintendo, and in terms of that, my favorite game is The Legend of Zelda. So I've got my Zelda figurine here, which is one of my favorites from Breath of the Wild. It is one of those games that I enjoyed immensely, and I couldn't help but get this figurine when I saw it, because it reminded me of that time when I first played that game, and it just felt like going into a whole new world, similar to fantasy novels. And here's my son. Of course I'm gonna have him on my desk. He's my biggest fan, and he hits like and subscribe on all my videos, even though he unsubscribes to me 50% of the time. Also, here is a golden fish. This is something I got for my birthday from my wife, because I like eating fish, and that's pretty much it. And my son also loves drawing. So last time in Father's Day, he made this for me, saying this is what I look like, so of course I'm gonna put this in the background of all my videos. While I'd love to be able to go through all the books I read and what they mean to me, there's just too many, and this doesn't even include all of them. This is just my favorites from a list of many. So let's have a look at some of the other stuff I have. All the microphones I use are from Rode. I use the NT1, which is what you're listening to right now, and on my camera I use the video mic. Moving back to my desk, I have a mouse by Logitech. It's the Logitech Pro X Superlight. This is a wireless mouse which is extremely light, and I've enjoyed using it ever since I got it just about a week ago. Previously I had mice from SteelSeries and other companies, but I have to say that this is probably one of the best mice I've ever used, and I don't think I'll be going back to any other mouse after using this. As a developer, I also need coffee, so I've got this coffee cup here from Yeti that was provided by Coder.com, and this is something that I use every day to make sure that I can stay productive. One thing you may have noticed is that I have a lot of plants in and around my desk and my shelves. These aren't particularly real, but they're made just to essentially give a bit of life back to a room that might be a little bit stale. And while I acknowledge that I could probably get real ones, I wouldn't be able to take care of them properly, and this is enough to just make me feel a little bit like a human and not just a robot. At the start of this video, I mentioned I had a Samsung G9 Odyssey monitor. This monitor is absolutely insane. It's 49 inches, which is essentially like having two widescreens back to back. I've gone through a number of monitor setups throughout the years, and to be honest, this is probably my favorite. I could not go back after using this monitor. I know it wasn't cheap, but it helps my productivity. I can fit so many windows in on this single screen, and while the curve was something to get used to, I can't really go back to a flat screen anymore. I can have Twitter on the left, I can have my code on the right, and I can even have a preview of what I'm working on as well. I mentioned earlier I have a Rode NT1, and this microphone is great. I've got a mic arm that I utilize, and I can just hide it off to the side when I'm not using it, but when I am using it, I can just pull it across and it fits just perfectly in front of my monitor, which is also in front of my camera. This way I can record videos like this as well as other ones where maybe I'm doing one on a green screen behind me. The chair I sit on is an Italian-made ergonomic chair that essentially is there just to make sure that your back position is straight, and the mesh on the back is really useful because when it gets hot, this allows air to still go through. I also love listening to good music, so I have these speakers from Edifier. They are made with this nice wooden finish, and I probably need to dust them a little bit, but they produce some of the best sound quality I've ever heard. My computer I usually hide under my desk. It's nothing special, and to be honest I do need to give it a bit of a clean, as well as cable management. But it's running a GTX 3080 as well as a couple of things like the latest i7, and it gets the job done. I also have some lighting, which is the Elgato key light, and this is really useful just to make the quality of videos a little bit better rather than looking like it's coming from a webcam.